Welcome to the infamous edition of the Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation done through creative storytelling of history's most infamous people. Now let's meet our guest. Welcome to the podcast. Let's start at the absolute beginning, where the public narrative hasn't yet distorted who you were. When and where were you born, and what was your given name?
Hi, Calvin. I was born right here in New York City, specifically in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, on April 7th, 1929. The name my parents gave me was Joseph Gallo.
What was your hometown and home life like as a child?
Growing up in Brooklyn, it was a rough and tumble environment, but my family actually raised us over in the Kensington area. My parents were Umberto and Mary Gallo. My old man was a bootlegger during Prohibition, and he eventually moved into the loan sharking racket. He didn't exactly discourage my brothers Larry and Albert and me from getting involved in the local neighborhood action. We learned the family business early on, running around the streets and learning how to hustle.
Was there a story behind your name or a nickname that stuck with you?
Well, early on, some folks called me Joey the Blonde because of my light hair color, but the name that really stuck with the public and the press was Crazy Joe. People thought I was unhinged because of how I acted, my unpredictable temper, and the way I carried myself. So the media just ran with Crazy Joey.
What were you like as a child, and how many years of schooling did you actually attend?
As a kid, I actually went to PS 179 in Kensington for my primary education. Some teachers back then noted I could be polite, even elegant when I wanted to be, but there was always a volatile streak underneath. I later went to the Brooklyn High School of Automotive Trades in Williamsburg, but I ended up dropping out when I was 16 years old. Schooling just wasn't the right fit for the life I was building on the streets.
Was there a specific moment when you realized you were fundamentally different from everyone else?
Around 1949, after I watched the movie Kiss of Death, something clicked. I started mimicking Richard Widmark's gangster character Tommy Udo, reciting his movie dialogue and laughing like him. Then, after an arrest in 1950, I was temporarily confined to Kings County Hospital Center, where the doctors officially diagnosed me with schizophrenia. That kind of diagnosis sets you apart from the average guy on the block.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
It started with hanging around the Ace Pool Room on Church Avenue with my buddies Frank Iliano and Pete the Greek Diopoulos. We were just teenagers hanging out, but that's where we really started scheming, plotting out different criminal operations, and deciding we weren't going to just be small-time hoods.
Let's talk about your early run-ins with the law. Before the world knew your name for your most infamous actions, what was your very first arrest or interaction with law enforcement? And what were the consequences?
My first major official interaction that went on the books was that 1950 arrest I mentioned. The consequences of that one weren't a long prison sentence, but rather being sent to the psychiatric ward at Kings County Hospital for observation because of my behavior.
At what moment did you realize your name would never be forgotten?
That milestone came in 1958, when I was called to testify before the United States Senate McClellan Committee on Organized Crime. The national media picked it up, and suddenly everyone was seeing this sharp-dressed, defiant guy from Brooklyn refusing to play ball with the politicians. That put my name and the Gallo crew on the national map.
Did fame make you more dangerous, or did it simply expose who you already were?
The notoriety just gave me a bigger stage to be exactly who I was. We were always defiant. When we were working for the Profaci family, my brothers and I didn't care about the traditional hierarchy. We ran our own independent militia out of President Street. The fame just let the world know we weren't afraid to shake things up.
Who do you believe betrayed you first? A person? Society? Or your own instincts?
It was the old school mafia leadership, specifically Joe Profaci. We did the heavy lifting for him, but he was greedy and refused to share the cut we were owed. That economic betrayal by our own boss is what pushed us to take action and kick off our own war against the administration.
What was your most unique habit or a random fact about you that would surprise people?
People might be surprised to learn that while I was serving time later on, I completely threw myself into literature, art, and philosophy. I spent my days reading Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Ernest Hemingway. I even took up painting.
What did the public never understand about the pressure you were under at the time?
The public just saw the glamour or the violence in the newspapers, but they didn't understand the sheer pressure of fighting a multi-front war. We were broke, hiding out in our President Street headquarters, constantly watching the doors and windows because we knew Profaci's hitters were lurking around every corner.
Did you have any known rivalries that defined your career?
My defining rivalry was with Joe Profaci and later Joseph Colombo. We went to absolute war with the Profaci leadership in 1961, even going so far as to kidnap top captains like underboss Joseph Magliocco to demand a fair deal. That rivalry fractured the entire New York underworld.
What personal battles were you fighting privately while the world was watching?
Aside from the mental health labels the doctors put on me, my main private battle during the height of the media frenzy was legal strategy. I was constantly fighting the system, trying to keep my crew together and avoid the heavy hand of the law, while the NYPD, led by guys like Albert Seidman, was putting immense pressure on us.
What was your darkest moment? And was there ever a time you wanted to walk away from it all?
The darkest time was during the First Colombo War, when Profaci's men struck back and killed my close enforcer, Joseph "Joe Jelly" Gioeli. They dumped his clothes and a dead fish at a diner we frequented to let us know he was gone. It was a brutal blow, but walking away wasn't an option for a Gallo.
What truth was hardest to escape when you were alone at night?
When you're locked in a cell or sitting in a fortified room, you realize that in our life, peace is an illusion. You can never truly lower your guard, no matter how many books you read or how many intellectual friends you make.
When the law finally closed in, how exactly were you brought to justice? Walk me through the final arrest, the charges that ultimately stuck, and the legal outcome of your trials.
While the war was draining our pockets, I tried to squeeze a local bar owner for extortion money to keep us afloat. The guy didn't cave. He went straight to the cops. I was arrested, tried, and convicted in late 1961 for conspiracy and attempted extortion. The judge handed me a heavy sentence of 7 to 14 years. I ended up serving about 10 years before getting released in 1971.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you? And what part of your story has been exaggerated the most?
The media loved to exaggerate how truly crazy I was, painting me as a complete madman without a brain. They also built up massive rumors about the extent of the racial warfare they claimed I personally orchestrated inside prison walls.
What is the biggest misconception people have about your life?
The biggest misconception is that I was just a lowbrow, bloodthirsty street thug. After I got out of prison in 1971, I became a fixture in the New York high society literary scene. I was hanging out with actors, writers, and artists like Jerry Orbach and David Steinberg. I was a complex guy, not a caricature.
What would surprise people most about your ordinary human side?
Probably how domestic my life could be at times. Just 3 weeks before my end, I got married to my second wife, Sina Essery, in Jerry Orbach's apartment, and I became a stepfather to her young daughter, Lisa. I enjoyed those quiet, ordinary family moments away from the street grind.
When, where, and how did you pass away?
It happened in New York City on April 7th, 1972, which was actually my 43rd birthday. I was out celebrating with my family and friends. Around 4:30 a.m., we stopped at Umberto's Clam House in Manhattan's Little Italy for some food. Gunmen walked in and opened fire. I was hit multiple times, stumbled out into Hester Street near my Cadillac, and passed away right there.
Was your downfall caused more by your own flaws or by the world changing around you?
It was a mix. The underworld was changing, but my own refusal to stand down, bow to the bosses, or play by the traditional mafia rules of obedience is what ultimately sealed my fate. I wanted autonomy, and in that world, independence carries a high price.
What past regrets did you carry with you to the end? If you could erase one decision from your life, would you? Or was it necessary to become who you were?
In our world, you don't spend a lot of time dwelling on erasing decisions. Every choice I made, from the pool room to the prison cell, was necessary to become the man the world knew as Joey Gallo. You play the hand you're dealt.
What scared you more? Getting caught? Losing power? Or being forgotten?
Being forgotten. Without a doubt. I never wanted to be just a regular cog in the machine or a forgotten neighborhood hoodlum. I wanted to be a king, someone whose name carried weight long after the cameras stopped flashing.
When you look back now, do you see yourself as the villain, the hero, or something in between?
I always saw myself as the rebel. I wasn't trying to be a traditional hero. And I didn't see myself as a simple villain. I was a guy fighting against an oppressive system, whether that system was the old guard mafia bosses or the legal authorities.
Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
Just that history likes to paint things in black and white, but men like me live in the gray areas. Thanks for letting me clear the air a bit and tell the story straight from the source.
And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, do better with the life you have been given and choose to do good in this life. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.